Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great lock-in night so far. I'm thrilled to kick off the author chats with Wendy Higgins, the author of the Sweet series and The Great Hunt. Without further ado, here she is.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. Oh, hi. There I am. How are you guys tonight? I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just waiting on some questions to pop up here, and then I'll get started. Okay, let's start with something easy. What is your favorite book that you've been reading lately? Let's see. I just read Paper Princess, which is really upper young adult, even sort of new adult, but it was good. It was really good. Sorry, guys, I'm just waiting for the questions. I thought I was going to be face-to-face or seeing you guys. Sorry about that. Let's see. Whoops. Okay. What has it been like for fans to go bananas over Kaiden Row? Okay, Kaiden is the first book boy that I ever created. He's all of the attributes that I go crazy for myself. He has English accent. He's a drummer. He's mysterious. He has crazy rock star hair. So for other people to go bananas over him is fun for me because I get to have people to go crazy with me. So I'm his biggest fan since he's lived in my mind all these years. So it's super neat and super fun to have people who have the same interests as me and think that this boy I've created is super fun to read about. So it makes me excited. When you wrote the Sweet series, did you know that it would be 3 books? No, I did not. When I first wrote it, it was one single standalone book. And by the time the publisher read it and was interested in it, I had already been, it took a long time to get to that stage. And by the time they said, yeah, we want this book, I was like, well, now I think I want it to be more than one book. I really want to stretch it out so that I can build these characters a bit more. So I took that first book, I took the ending off, I plopped the ending aside, I kept the beginning part, and I just basically, I got rid of some of the middle, and I wrote new story in the middle, and then I kept the original ending, but changed it up some, of course, because of all the changes I made, I had to. So it definitely went through a ton of different phases before it became the story that is published today. It's hard to write it like that. The question is, was it hard to write like that? Yes, it was, because, well, originally the story came to me in disjointed scenes. And I wrote the scenes not knowing where they were really happening, what point in the book they were going to be happening. I just knew that these certain events were going to be happening between these two characters, between Anna and Kaiden. And then I sort of had to piece it together like a puzzle and write the stuff around it. And that was very, very difficult way to write. I don't recommend it, but it's what we call the pantser approach, where you just write by the seat of your pants, whatever comes to you. And it's hard to write that way, but it's also hard for me to outline. I feel like when it hits me, I write it. That's how I work. It's crazy. All right, we have another question coming. Can you tell us how you write your books then? That first book, when I wrote my very first book, and it was just the one standalone book, I wrote that one by hand. The next ones I wrote all on my computer. And I sit down and I just freestyle it. And I do have a notebook that I sometimes take notes in just to remind myself of certain things, especially when I research. I have to keep my research written down by hand. Sometimes I'll just open up a separate document on my computer and type up notes in there. Or if I need to get rid of a scene, it's never good to trash a scene completely. I take it and I cut it and I paste it into a separate document. So I have a whole doc that's just notes and things like that, and that I can look at later. Sometimes I find that a certain part of a scene that I deleted will work better in a different part, so I'll go in and cut that back out and put it back in. It's a little bit of a crazy process, and every now and then I do have to outline a few chapters in advance so that I can keep the pacing right. But I don't recommend writing like that. It's just how I do it. Do you like, let's see, how many pages or chapters do you typically write in a session? Typically, I write 1 chapter a day. That's my session. I spend about 4 hours writing. Well, for me, the writing part includes the researching, the sitting there brainstorming part. I do a lot of daydreaming, and I consider that part of my working hours. But if I can get 1 chapter written a day, I'm happy. Do you try to write every day? I write while my kids are in school. So generally I write Monday through Friday. I take the weekends off to be with them, just like I would if I had a normal job. And I tend not to write in the summer or during that Christmas break time. Where do you find the inspiration for your stories? I find inspiration all around me in life. Everything I see, the people I meet, the stories that I read, the music that I hear, just it can be something tiny that I see, or some things that happened in my past. A lot of the stuff is inspired by things that happened in my past, heartbreaks, frustrations, struggles that I had, hurdles that I had to overcome. And believe it or not, those things that are so hard at the time you're going through them and you think, I can't get through this, my life stuff sucks. Those things make good fodder for stories in the future. All right. Let's see. What gave you the idea to make the books? I think that's sort of like the inspiration one. I just always liked writing, and but I generally wrote for myself just for fun, or I wrote for college classes because I had to. But I never thought that I would get published. It wasn't until I completed my very first book that I thought, oh my gosh, I just wrote a book. And at that point, I was 32 years old. So, I went through all my teens and 20s thinking, this is not something I can do for a living. This is just something for fun. So don't ever doubt that thing that you really love to do, because just because it seems like a far, far away reach doesn't mean that it can't happen someday. You just have to be ready when the time is right. Can you tell us about The Great Hunt? How does it differ for Sweet Books? The Great Hunt is my second series with HarperCollins, and how it's different is that The Great Hunt is a high fantasy, which means it's a completely made up story world, whereas the Sweet Books were based right here on Earth in our modern day time, and it was just fantastical elements, paranormal elements here, angels, demons, children of demons. In The Great Hunt, it was just a completely, new world, new continent with made-up kingdom names, and it has a magic that I made up, and it's a lot different too, because it's in a whole different way than my Sweet Books were told from the first person point of view, and the Great Hunt books are told from third person point of view, so it's a wider viewpoint range from different characters. So it was definitely made me stretch my creative abilities trying out that different style of writing. How did I come up with the world and the backstory? I was impressed that all these people were writing fairy tale retellings, and I didn't have any inspiration of my own to retell a fairy tale, a classic fairy tale. So I got out my copy of the Grimm Brothers tales, which are very grim, and I started reading through, and I came across a story called The Singing Bone, and in the very first couple of lines, it talked about a king who was desperate because there was this monster just ravishing the kingdom. And he was so desperate that he said, anyone who comes and kills this beast can have my daughter's hand in marriage. And I didn't even need to read any further. As soon as I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, like my mind just blew up with this idea of these hunters who would come in for the prize, or for whatever reasons they had, and how would the princess feel to be given away like that? That's how the idea for the Great Hunt started rolling. It was just based on that's all it took to inspire. The rest of the tale really has nothing to do with my story at all. Why do you think the Grimm tales stood the test of time? I think there's just something about magic, and these tales they're really sort of fierce, and I mean, if you read them, they're disturbing, but I think that sometimes disturbing things fascinate us, and they're fun and interesting to read about, and the fact that they've been told so many ways by so many people is just proof that people are fascinated by that sort of thing. I know I am. Can you tell us about The Great Pursuit? The Great Pursuit is the follow-up story to The Great Hunt. So it's the sequel. It's a two-part story, The Great Hunt and The Great Pursuit. The Great Pursuit comes out next year in March. I'm really excited. It's a love story, first and foremost, really. And it's also a story about this girl, the princess, who's put into this really hard position of wanting to be the best princess and leader of her kingdom that she can be, but she's having to sacrifice an awful lot. It's also about her younger sister, the younger princess, and about her older cousin, who's one of the ladies of the court, and about all of their journeys and how what happens to Princess Arity affects everybody in her life. And it's about the magic and how there's a prejudice against the people that have the magic, and how Princess Arity is trying to help the people see that the magic can actually help, not just hurt. And it really sort of mirrors a lot of the struggles I think that we have in society, with people fearing or not understanding other people and other cultures and things like that. So it was really sort of fascinating to play around with those ideas. Can you tell us what you're working on now? I'm working on a science fiction apocalyptic story now called Unknown. I'm actually self-publishing it, so it can come out a little bit faster than normal. With a publishing house, it takes at least a year to get the book out. With this one, I wrote it this spring, and it's coming out in 2 weeks. That one is about, it's about the world being taken over. We don't really know by who. We just know it's sort of like a World War III is coming, and everything is a mystery. We don't know exactly who's doing all these awful things, but the world is definitely falling apart. And it's about a girl who's a nurse. She's a paramedic. Her name is Amber, and she's trying to help everyone. But a lot of dystopian sort of apocalyptic stories start with the world already having fallen apart, and you don't really know exactly how it got that way. And in this story, it starts from the beginning when her life is normal, and you watch the eventual breakdown of the society and exactly how they're able to do that and take away people's freedoms. And it has this sort of spooky feel to it, like Red Dawn. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that movie used to terrify me when I was little and it came out. What advice can you give to us who want to write a novel? I mean, really, it's not something you can force. It's like if the story idea comes to you and you're feeling it, you need to write it. You need to write what's on your heart, and you need to not worry about what anyone thinks. You need to not worry about what the trends are. You need to not worry about what's selling. You need to worry about whether or not your heart is in the story. And if you write a story that's from your heart, there will be a place for it, and other people will read it and feel that. And every story is not for every person. That's one hard thing I've had to learn as an author. You're never going to have everybody love your book. But if you are a strong storyteller, that's just get it on paper, and you can worry about and revising and all of that later. Just get it done. Do it. You have to make time for it. How hard is it to have your stories published and recognized? I'm not going to lie. It's hard. I remember in my college class, I was taking a creative writing class in college. I wanted to be a teacher, but the writing classes were, were just easy and fun for me. So I took a lot of them. And I remember my professor saying, I hate to be a downer, but just so you know, and to give you a heads up, it's very hard to get published, and probably 99% of you in this class will not get published. And I thought, well, it's not going to be me. So, and I mean, I don't know, maybe I was the 1% in the class. I don't know what happened to everybody else that was in that class, but yeah, it's hard. You really have to be willing to put yourself out there, to work really hard, to give up a little bit of sleep or a little bit of reading time or television time or whatever it is that you do in your spare time. Some of that might have to be shed away for a little while you work on your story. And getting it in front of a publisher takes a lot of rejection in the meantime. So you have to be ready to just plow through all of that. And I got 60-something rejections on Sweet Evil, and even more rejections on my second book, and rejections on my Irish book, See Me. I mean, it's hard to, sometimes you feel like, is this even the right job for me? Am I just really bad? And you feel like maybe you're like on American Idol, and you're that person who thinks you're really great, and everyone else is looking at you and laughing at you. And it's hard not to be paranoid, but all it takes is for your book to land in the right person's hands at the right time, and for you to be patient until that happens. Can you tell us how you found your agent? I queried. There was a website called agentquery.com. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. It's been a few years now. But you go on there, you put in what genre you write, and it gives you a list of agents who are accepting submissions in your field. And you have to just put together a query letter telling them what your story is about, and send that off to a bunch of agents. Start with your dream agents first, and then, go from there. When you were a teen, did you picture yourself becoming a writer? It was just the dream. It was the faraway dream. Some kids dream of being astronauts. I always dreamed of being a published writer. That was my dream job. Yep. I did not think it would happen, but it was still the dream. What is your favorite genre to read and to write? Anything that's not realistic. So, I mean, I do like I need reality in my books, but there's contemporary fiction, which is, it's like real life stuff. And then there's paranormal, fantasy, urban fantasy, magic realism. That's the stuff that I like to read, the stuff that has the fantastical, mythological elements to it. And that's also the kind of thing that I like to write. What made you decide to write books for teens? I just always had a heart for teens. My teen years were really hard, and I still remember them very vividly. I remember how I felt, and I wanted to teach high school English because I wanted to be surrounded by teens, to be working with teens. I feel like your teen years are really a magical time of your life where you are making the big decisions that will affect your adulthood and the rest of your life. And there's just some pivotal changes that teens go through, and teens are such passionate people. There's nobody more passionate than a teenager. And I missed being a teacher. I taught for a couple years, and then I became a stay-at-home mom, and I was really missing working with teens. And so when this idea came to me to write young adult books, I thought, this is my chance. If I can get this published, then I will sort of still be working with teens. I'll be interacting with teens online. And to me, that was just the ultimate dream job. What has been the most rewarding experience writing for teens? There's nothing better. Ooh, this makes me emotional. Than when someone just writes you and say that you helped them through a hard time, or that you changed their life, or that you inspired them. Like, that to me is the best thing, and the reward for writing for teens. And they're just so brutally honest with you, and just like, just tear your heart out and make you melt. And if a teen comes up to me at an event and has tears in their eyes, I'll immediately start crying. I want to cry just thinking about it. Are you a fan of social media? Yes. What do you think, the way it has helped, and also the backlash that's come with it? I think I stay away from the drama that tends to happen on social media. I literally, when I see it coming, I get away from it. I don't let myself reply to things. I don't go looking for reviews or anything where there might be any sort of hatefulness going on. Basically, I focus on the people who try to chat with me. If people comment on my post on Facebook, or tweet me, or comment to me on one of my Instagram photos, I try to like those comments. I try to comment back. I feel like people who take the time out to write me emails and just contact me in general to say kind things, like those people I want to talk with, I want to be friends with, I want to, to thank them back. The backlash, I don't know. I stay away from that. That's not to say I've never had any brought to me, but I generally just try and, that's just part of the process. There's no way to escape all of the negativity that's out there. No matter what job you have to face that and just be professional with it and move past it. My favorite social media platform, I really love Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all for different reasons. But those three, I think Facebook tends to be my go-to because I can just write a whole lot more, and I tend to be very wordy, as you can see. So yeah, those three are my best. I tried Snapchat, and I ended up deleting it the very same day because I was like, overwhelmed, intimidating, I can't do it. What is next on your writer's dream list? Are you going to continue writing for young adults? I've moved up a little in the age range. The one that I'm publishing next month is for sort of college age. But I'm totally open to writing more young adult stories. I'm really sort of a slave to whatever hits me, whatever inspiration comes to me. I'm happy to write it. It just so happens that the one I'm working on now is college age and adult and has more mature stuff in it. But yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to go back to writing YA someday. Any more questions? Can you say what your favorite show is? Oh, my husband and I are right now, we're binge watching Stranger Things on Netflix, and it's so good. It's so good. Now, I'm a child of the 80s, and that show takes place in the 80s, so it's like all the throwback stuff. It's like E.T. and the Goonies feeling to it, and I love it. And my favorite movie, of course, I'm a fan of all those 80s movies, but more recently I really liked The Departed and Lucky Number 11, and I like some of those darker kind of twisted movies. But when I really like Zootopia, my kids and I saw that, and I just love that movie. Would you want your books to be made into a movie? That would be awesome. I mean, it would be weird. And I have trust issues with movies. I think, you know how you guys get crazy when the movie is not just like you think it should be. Well, imagine being the one who created it and having that chance of someone taking your idea and twisting it all around. So I think it would be awesome, but at the same time, a little scary. At this point, nobody has bought film rights, so it's not even anything that I have to worry about. It's really, really hard to get your book made into a movie or a film. I've had interest, but no, so far, nothing has happened. Let's see. Who would be my dream cast? I think of someone like Olivia Holt for Anna. And I don't know if you've heard of Wade Posen, but if you haven't, you need to look him up. It's Poezyn. He's awesome. For Kaiden. Do you think that with your love of dark movies, writing a horror novel might be in your future? No, horror really is not my thing. Like, I scare easily. Stranger Things is probably the scariest thing I'm willing to watch. Even my husband was like, can you handle this? Because I can't watch horror stuff. I like stuff that's edgy and dark and spooky without being gory or like so evil that you're having nightmares about it. Which would you rather have your books made into a TV show or a movie? I think a TV show would be neat, because that would give them more of an opportunity to really tell the whole storyline instead of having to cut out a bunch of stuff, which that tends to be my biggest pet peeve of movies, when they cut out some things that I wanted to see. My sweet books actually were given to the CW, MTV, and ABC Family. Twice they were submitted to them, and that possibility really got me excited, because I thought, wow, a show would be really cool. After Unknown, are you working on another book? Unknown is going to be a series. It could probably be about 4 books. So I will be focusing on those until I'm finished with those. I'm not sure what's going to happen after that. I'm open to anything. If you could tell your 16-year-old self something, what would you say? I would say, stop focusing on boys and focus on yourself and growing your mind and your soul and your education. I was really very focused on boys. Like, embarrassingly so. If I could go back knowing what I know now and do it all again, I would not give any of those boys the time of day, for real. So just know someday those boys and the drama that seems so important right now, it's just not. It's really not. Like, those little things, I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, why? Why did I get so worked up over and let these things control my life and get in the way of the actual important things? So, perspective. So a lot of you guys like Stranger Things too. That's awesome. Yes, I'm excited. We've only watched 2 episodes. I'm going to watch number 3 tonight. I'm super excited. Sorry for the pauses. Okay. Okay, that was the last question. Thank you guys so much. I've had so much fun. I wish that I could see all of your faces and be chatting with you guys personally. That would have been super fun, but it was awesome reading your questions, and thank you guys so much, and I wish you happy reading, and I hope you have a great time tonight. Cut!
Thank you so much for chatting with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. You guys have a great night.
Okay, everyone who are watching, other than Miss Wendy, we will be back at 8 o'clock with our next author. We look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.